The next voyage was also ill-fated. The SS Laconia was torpedoed and sunk, but the U-boat commander helped the survivors.
In our lifeboat, we had the second officer, and he said, it's 1,000 miles from land, but we can make it. Put the sail up. So we felt safe with him. But then, in the day, the U-boat come down and told to put the sail down. He said, you won't make it. I've asked for people to come and pick you up, rescue you. Stay where you are. So we stayed there. But that night, decided again to make a move for us. But apparently, it never come about. The U-boat come again, took us in tow. He was, and he told us to an area where he going to be a rendezvous when the rescue ships would come and pick us up. Well, through the night, apparently, before we got to this rendezvous with him, they'd been attacked by an American airplane, and he told us if your aircraft ended in the night to cut yourself adrift, because we had an hatchet in his boat, cut yourselves adrift because I have to dive. Now, we've been told before, and by our people, they used to dive and tow you under drowners, you know. But it was decent with us. He gave us a bottle of wine, a tin. When it was bread brown, it was black bread they called it. And told us to stay where we were.
The German army meted out very different treatment in the prison camps.
The whole ship shook as she sped through the night, and we came on deck one morning and we were in the port of La Palisse in occupied France. And the Kriegsmarine, the German Navy, who'd been very kind to us, put us ashore there, and the Wehrmacht took over, and that thing started going quite nasty then, because we were put into cattle trucks for the next 24 hours or so. It was impossible for everybody to lie down. There were fights breaking out among the Chinese crew during the middle of the night. It was a dreadful journey, that, and we ended up at Saint-Médard-en-Jalles, just outside Bordeaux, where the French had built a huge prison camp for German troops, but it was reversed now. It was our camp now. And Saint-Médard-en-Jalles, this is Front Stalag 221, and there we were registered. We had to take all our K-Park life jackets off and put them in a pile. Well, I didn't have much clothing. And during the night when it was cold, that K-Park jacket was warm. And I learned one of my first lessons of captivity. Rumours always abound, and most of them are totally wrong. A rumour went round that you could pick up your life jacket and bring it back. So I took the one off the top of that pile, put it on, and the next thing I knew, I was sprawling in the sand. I'd been struck in the back of the head. And when I looked up, there was a German officer with his hand on his pistol, and a guard who had his rifle round poking at me. And it was such a transformation from the Kriegsmarine.
Jack worked aboard the SS Flaminian, which after a series of accidents and mishaps was talked of as being jinxed.
And then we got up to Loch Ewe, Lane Loch Ewe. And while we were there, a motorboat came out to us with a young boy on it, and he was going to be a cadet. And he came on board, and the captain met him and showed him where he'd be sleeping, and he said, change your clothes now, I'm going up the boat to the carpenter. We're loading the lifeboats up and getting everything filled in, you know, make sure all the water tanks were full and the stop was in and all that. And this boy put his foot on the gunwale of the lifeboat to hand over and slipped and fell down the side of the ship. And unbeknownst to us, there was a water tender just coming alongside, and he hit it. And a chap named MacArdle, I think MacArdle's still alive, he's from the north, jumped in, dived into the sea and grabbed him. And he was dead. So the captain said, my God, he said, he's only been here an hour and I've got to get in touch with this person, so he's dead. So that was the first thing. And somebody said it's a jinx on this ship. Anyway, we jumped that. That was the first death.
Far away from the war at sea, John was transferred to Stalag 10B.
Arrived in Germany, and because we were neither fish nor fowl, merchant seamen, we were civilians, we weren't even armed personnel. You take British soldiers from Dunkirk and you put them in a soldiers' camp, which is a stalag. But what do you do with seamen? You only capture them in penny packets, more or less. So there wasn't a merchant seamen's camp. So they put us into a Stalag 10B. It's San Bostel, a prison camp with 30,000 men in it, and of all uniforms, all armies, and there was the most horrendous prison camp, a concentration camp section, which was there right until the bitter end. We were transferred after about 6 months, but Yugoslav prisoners came into that camp from every newly occupied country had its quota. And we were in Stalag 10B. We were beginning to receive Red Cross food parcels, every one a week, which meant that you were not starving any longer. You were still hungry, but you had wonderful things to eat, and the buckets of soup, fish soup, sauerkraut soup, which we used to pick up from the camp kitchen and bring to our own. We didn't need that so much. And as we had to go through the Yugoslav compound into the French compound, the French were obviously cooking the soup for us, we would pick up our buckets of sauerkraut soup, and they'd grown up a custom. We had Red Cross food parcels. We were just hungry, not starving. It's a big difference. Yugoslav soldiers were the lowest of the low in the hierarchy of races at that time. And they used to hang about with their dixies. And a customer developed that they could dip their dixies into and walk away with whatever soup was soup of the day. And the guard that day we had must have been a new guard. He didn't like what he saw. And the Yugoslav soldier had dipped his dixie in the bucket 3 buckets ahead of me, and was walking away when the guard shouted at him, and he panicked, and the guard lifted up his rifle and shot him.
Jack's jinxed ship now hit a storm in the Bermuda Triangle.
The bosun seen it coming. We were called to the bridge, and he said, you can get everything secured because it's bad weather coming. And the bosun said, here it is coming. There was a white line. And when it hit us, we were 3 days and 3 nights. And we had to fire a rocket to the poop because the steering gear got jammed. The flying bridge had collapsed. And we put it into hand gear. And we lost the chief, like. And the Americans reckoned that there was only 4 waves to the mile in that storm. I mean, you just couldn't see over them. I'm not joking. I've never seen anything since or before. You went down and up. And apparently, what I was told after, that the waves gradually, the fore part of the wave gradually becomes vertical. And if you hit when it was vertical and what was up there fell on you, but it didn't happen anyway. And we got into Bermuda and we got patched up and rails straightened and everything else, and then we set off again for New York.
Frank became a prisoner of war in Casablanca, where he learned the fate of his friends on the Laconia.
I worked in the galley aft, and the firemen were aft, and this fellow used to go up, a fellow called Jimmy Herdesty. Jimmy Herdesty, a big fella, he was a fridge greaser in the engine crowd. I used to give him a cup of tea from the give him a cup of tea. So I said, what happened to Jimmy Herdesty? Someone said to me, oh, he went down. He said, there John was in the lifeboat, and Jimmy was saying, John, don't leave me. I said, John got out the boat and went back to his brother. I said, that's brotherly love for you. You know, sad.
Go.
Yeah. Both went down. Yeah.
Sorry for that.
John was like that, and Jimmy was the biggest, stocky fella. So I said, no, he went down. He said, he was shouting, John, don't leave me. And John got back on the deck, gave his life up for him. Tell him.